कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ध्यायामि चिन्मयानन्दं गुरुदेवं महामतिं प्रेमपूर्णं क्रियाशीलं सदा लोकहिते रतम् कृपालुं सुन्दराकारं समर्थं सत्यदर्शिनं वाचा तत्त्वप्रकाशिन्या शोकमोहविनाशिनम् ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। It's May 8 in India. It's the birthday. 108 years have passed since Pujya Swami Chinmayanandi took birth. On this auspicious occasion and auspicious day, we offer our pranams to Pujya Swamiji and continue with our study of this Bhagavad Geetā. 8th chapter began with questions from Arjuna, and presently it is that portion where Lord Sri Krishna is responding to the last of the 7 questions. How am I to know you at the time of my passing away, moving from one body to another, going from one life to another, going from one birth to another birth? Prayana kale katham jneyah asi was the 7th question. And Lord Krishna has given answers which inspire in every one of us to do sadhana. Someone yesterday telephoned me, and during her conversation, she asked me a question. What is the best form of dhana? Dhana means sampatti, wealth. I said, you tell me. And she says, sadhana. Sadhana is the best dhana. I had not heard that before, but it was really well said. And she herself said, all other dhana we have to leave behind when we pass away. But this sadhana we do day in and day out, a japa, a dhyana, a scriptural study, helping somebody in need, and practicing self-control, speaking moderately, and having a certain order in daily life, all this is sadhana, and that is the best form of dhana or wealth. Lord Krishna gives us tips on sadhana. The last verse we saw last Wednesday morning in India or Tuesday evening in the West, 14th verse. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashah tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. Sri Krishna is emphatic that we must strive to be nitya yukta, ever joined with the divine, ever united, putting our mind in God anywhere and everywhere. Don't make it once a week or once in a fortnight and so on. Don't make it a case of we remember God when everything is fine. First of all, everything is not fine in life anyhow, but that attitude is not right. Both in joy and sorrow, in failure and success, can we visualize God's presence, God being by our side, God holding our hand and leading us forward. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha aham sulabaha. I am easy. You must have heard how a certain teacher wrote on the blackboard, God is nowhere. Then he took a red chalk piece. In that word, nowhere, Nowhere, he wrote a vertical line after NOW. The students were looking at the blackboard. Just a moment ago, it was God is nowhere, and now it became God is now here. That's the difference. When there is proper meditation, when there is proper spiritual effort, God, who was not to be found anywhere a moment ago, can be discovered to be now and here. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha aham sulabaha. And therefore, the whole verse also emphasized Yomam smarati nityashaha ananya chetaha and so on. In the 15th verse now, we see Sri Shankaracharya says, Tava saulabhyena kim syat. You are being easy to attain. What does it mean? If somebody asks, Uchate shranutat mama saulabhyena yad bhavati. Please listen and know what is the great benefit out of my being easy of attainment. Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha sansiddhim paramam gataha. We read this last time too, and it is the ending of rebirth which is emphasized here. That is one facet of the same exalted state. Elsewhere we say ending of sorrow. Dukkasya atyantika nivritti. Somewhere else we might emphasize paramananda prapti. Whatever it is, they are not different, they are all one. Attaining me, one does not come back into the sphere of limitations to be identified with the physical body and to go through all the little pleasure but a lot of pain and anxiety. This world is dukkhalayam, ashashvatam, impermanent, and Mahatmas, upon attaining the Supreme Lord, don't come back to this finite world. They live in infinity. Mahatmanaha dukkhalayam na apnuvanti. They have attained sansiddhi. Sansiddhi. When we were going to pick up a name for the ashram which we have been trying to build, and now certain hurdles are cleared, the construction will soon start. We had done an opinion poll. In fact, we asked people to give a name. I guess more than 200 names were suggested by different people, and then for 200 people, a large number of names were suggested and then shortlisted, then we came to top 5. And one of the top 5 was Sansiddhi. I guess that was also a wonderful name, Sansiddhi Ashram. Siddhi itself is attainment, accomplishment. But if you use the word siddhi for a number of achievements in the world, in the domain of time and space, then there is sansiddhi, which is rising above time and space, rising above all finitude, all limitations. Looks impossible because we are so identified with the body. We think of our body and say, how can I be infinite? Nobody is saying this body will become infinite. That Hanuman was able to enlarge his body or shrink his body, those are all siddhis. And here we are talking of sansiddhi, samyak siddhi, sansiddhim paramam gata. Then there were other four names, and finally we selected Jnana Shakti, or as North Indians would announce or pronounce or say, Jnana Shakti. एक ही बात है. Whether you say Ravindra or Robindra, both are right. Ravindra, Robindra, Thakur or Tagore, both are right. Therefore, Jnana or Gyan, both are right. Jnana Shakti Bhāshya. But Sansiddhi was also a candidate in the final round where 5 names were being considered. Sansiddhim Paramam Gata. Wow. Oh, you and I wish to reach there. Shankaracharya gives a few words but that are very splendid. Mam Upetya. And at such places, Sri Krishna doesn't talk about himself as Vasudeva Sutta. When he says Mam, it refers to the pure I. At the highest level, it is Brahman. One notch below, it is Ishvara. Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, Mam Upetya means Mam Ishvaram Upetya. Madbhavam Apadya. Sri Krishna is free of any identification. Though he is operating through a certain body at this time in the Krishna Avatara, he knows that he is way above any body, anything limited by space and time. And that bhava, that way of being, that state of being, you and I can also achieve as per Advaita Vedanta. Mam upetya, madbhavam apadya, punarjanma, punarutpattim na apnuvanti, na prapnuvanti. What is this punarjanma? Kim vishishtam? How do we describe this punarjanma? Tad visheshanam aha. Aha means Sri Krishna says, Braviti, Sri Krishna vadati, visheshanam, a qualifier. This punarjanma, sorry to say, dukkhalayam. It's a repository of sorrow. In English, they have an expression, it's a can of worms. There was a can in the kitchen of some guest house. And somebody thought, oh, there must be some wonderful canned food. We are hungry. Let's open it. They opened the can and there were worms coming out, or crawling and worms trying to get out. A can of worms. You don't even want to see it. You want to quickly shut it or close it. Any situation, any scenario, any predicament in life where you get in and you are in for trouble after trouble, you want to just run away from there, that is idiomatically described as a can of worms. Somewhere else there is the idiom Pandora's box. To open the box and troubles. There's some background of some Greek story, I guess. Who don't open that Pandora's box means you go there, you open it, or you get into that scene, get into that scenario, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna. So this dukkhalayam, But there is a saying again in English, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Angels who have special powers, they also are afraid to go somewhere. But foolish people, in their utter stupidity, they say, we want to go there. We want to go there. They're very eager to go where wise people keep a good distance. So you and I, when we have body identification, when we do not learn lessons that life gives us, when we skip things to be done for things that are not necessary at all. We go to a movie and that day some prayer is skipped. We go to some enjoyment or we talk on phone for a very long time, unscheduled, or worse is things which we have decided that morning only we will not do this anymore, but we get into it. Many of us have a weakness for food. Many of us have a weakness for talking. We go on and on and on. So endlessly giving necessary details and unnecessary details also. Sometimes you are driving and you have a man next to you, and that man tells about something that happened in 1975, and you are navigating through some heavy traffic or some scary scenario. But he says, listen, you know then what happened? My aunt came and said this. Who wants all that story? But that man sitting next to you wants to take it out of his chest. So when we do all that, we are like those fools who rush in. Fools rush where angels fear to tread. This dukkha. This is just before moving ahead. This is in no way a sort of irresponsible condemnation of this world. This world is created by God. It has a lot of charm, lot of beauty. But the criticism is of not the God-made world, but the world that you and I create. The psychological world. The world where we, without realizing what we are doing, get attached to A or B. We get attached to places, persons, objects, positions, pleasure. We get attached to the bed, can't get up early. We get attached to food and drink. The world of attachments, the world of aversions, ragadveshatmakam jagat, tad jagat atra dukkhalayam iti varnyate is described in this way. So don't criticize. God made world. God made this beautiful world. And in no time, we got into psychological world. Money is not a problem. Woman or man is not a problem. Power or position is not a problem. Even politics, about which some people say politics is the last resort of a scoundrel. But some context it is said. Politics also by itself is not wrong. What we need is the dhana called sadhana. When you have sadhana, even politics becomes a domain where you can contribute, make the world better, and you also grow. This morning I quickly saw any important messages, and somebody shared with me, what is that? Ah, I believe long back in Osho's ashram, I guess in Pune, there was a board. I don't know which year, when, but there was a board during his time. Dogs and politicians are not allowed to enter. Osho, with all his plus and minus sides, had a certain charm of his own. He could say ruthless things. He could call a spade a spade. He didn't care. And that not caring at all for social norms, caused him trouble at the end. He went too far. His tongue went too far. He used unparliamentary words for certain people. I watched 6 episodes on Netflix on Osho. I think it is called the Wild Wild Life or Wild Wild West, Wild 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 Country or something. Wild Wild Country referring to America, because that whole 6 episodes are about Osho's years in USA. How he goes to Oregon and builds a huge ashram. Lots of people come there. Then things start going wrong. And towards the end, I would not want to mention any particular example. He gives certain talks where it's not good language at all. He talks vulgar language. He talks language, words for certain people who had worked sincerely for him, no matter what mistakes they did on the way. He should have been grateful to them. He should not have used unparliamentary words for them, but he uses. That's it. Within a few days, he is arrested, he is put in jail, he is sent away from USA and so on. Very sad. But in his ashram, coming back to the point, he had got a board made, I believe. Dogs and politicians not allowed to enter. So, politics also by itself is not dukkhalaya. It is actually another field of possible service. And in service, we rise. But in getting attached, involved, personally, selfishly, getting into kama, krodha, lobha and all that, we are caught. Dukkhalayam iti visheshanam. This worldly life. This worldly life is dukkhalayam. Living in this world, we have to be above the world. Be in the world, but not of the world, as I guess the Bible says, I suppose. And in the Gita, it is said, be like a lotus leaf. Though in the midst of water, it doesn't get wet. Padma Patram iva ambasa is the chapter 5, verse 10. Dukkhalayam dukkhanam adhyatmikadina. Adhyatmika, adibhautika, adidaivika. So, adhyatmika is internal, maybe at the level of the body, at the level of the mind, at the level of speech, at the level of various indriyas. Somebody can't hear or there's ear pain, can't see. Indriyas are not functioning properly. They're causing actually pain to us. So anything at the level of BMI, we want to do sadhana, but there is a backache. Exactly as we sit for meditation, oh, there is a backache. Or something or the other. Adhyatmika, then Adibhautika is caused by other living beings. Adhyadidaivika is caused by cosmic forces, including lightning, thunder, and all that. Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidaivikanam, Dukkhanam, Alayam, Ashrayam. Why does word Alaya means Ashraya? Why does it mean? It means Ashraya because Aliyante. Asmin dukkhani iti dukkhalayam. Janma. Dukkhalayam. This janma, punarjanma is dukkhalayam. So, aliyante. Here, liyante doesn't mean dissolve, but it means reside. Aliyante. So, reside, dwell. This worldly life indicated by janma, to be born here and then to pull on like anybody else, getting into a big mess of attachments, aversions, desires, disappointments, fear, anxiety, and so on. The whole psychological thing. It is psychological world. If you psychologically are free of hassles, even in a jail, you will go to bliss. If psychologically you are entangled, then even in a fabulous, wonderful mansion with all facilities, you will be so restless, so unhappy. Therefore, please, and whenever Buddhism or Hinduism or Jainism, etc., especially the Eastern religions, come down heavily on this world and ask us to turn inward, we should not misunderstand that the Eastern religions are negative towards the world that God has created. The Eastern religions are actually talking about the psychological world, and generally they go together. Very rarely someone can have money and not get attached to it. Very rarely a man is unattached to his wife. Very rarely a woman is unattached to her husband. Very rarely parents are not attached to their children. You know, generally, anything that gives us some pleasure, we get attached to on all levels. Scholars like me are also attached to learning. I remember, in fact, this morning or last evening, I was regretting. Ah, many a time I have skipped yogasana because I would get a doubt in Sanskrit. I would rush to V.S. Apte's dictionary and open it and, what does this word mean? And from one word, I would go to another word and then go to another word and get how this word is derived. Attachment to learning. In the process, that morning or that evening, yogasanas go out through the windows. Oh, I think I should tone down learning and do more of asana, pranayama, adhyayana, dhyana, and so on. So it's not just woman and wine, or as Sri Ramakrishna says, woman and gold, but varieties of attachments. Look within. What am I attached to? What is pulling me down? What is chaining me to a rock? If our feet are chained, tied to a rock, heavy weight, we can't move. What is holding me back? We must find out. Shankaracharya says, Ashrayam aliyante asmin dukkhani iti dukkhalayam, and here it refers to Janma. Na kevalam dukkhalayam ashashvatam api. It is ashashvatam. You may say, no, 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 don't call it dukkha. There's so much of happiness. There is, who nobody denies, but does it remain for long? Everything is impermanent. It breaks down. Anavastita swarupancha. Swarupa, its nature. Avastita means stable. Anavastita, unstable. So Mahatmanaha idrisham punarjanma na apnuvanti. So these Mahatmas, great souls, which you and I can definitely become, we have the potential, we must attain it. Yatayaha, they have spontaneous self-control. Not with struggle, not with conflict, not pushing themselves, not having inner turmoil and so on, but easily. They go for Shreya easily. They let go of Preya easily. They, like Hamsakshiranyaya, it is said, the swan drinks the milk and leaves the water. Or is it other way? Whatever. Hamsakshiranyaya. So if you mix water and milk, the swan is supposed to separate milk and water from that mixture. Maybe more mythological, whatever, but that concept is interesting. While they both are together, milk and water, Hamsa is capable of separating. So if you and I can easily separate, this is unwise. Sorry, thanks. I don't need. I go for something which is wise to do. So, Shankaracharya says, Yatayaha Sansiddhi is moksha akhyam Mokshaha akhya yasyaha sa mokshakhya. Mokshakhyam paramam prakrishtam gataha praptaha ye punaha mam na prapnuvanti te punaha avartante. Mahatmas don't get back to the cage of limitations. Others get back. Avartante. They come back. That is what is elaborated in the next shloka 16. This is a terrific shloka with a lot of significance in it. Bhashyakara Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya connects us. Kim punaha tvattaha anyat praptaha punaravartante iti. So those who attain you don't come back. Those who attain something else, the word anyat means that. Tvattaha anyat. They attain something else than you. They attain something limited, something finite, however glorious it may look. But you are infinity. You are ananta. So anything else, people let us say get. So what does it mean? What does it mean to come back? Punaravartante. The 16th shloka. 8th chapter, 16th shloka. Multiply 8 by 2, 8, 16. Easy to remember. 8:16 talks about something that applies to the entire universe. Bhuha, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, 7 words above. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, etc. All the way up to Patala is 7 words below. That is one universe. And there are multiple universes also are talked about. That's scary really. Anyway, referring to these 14 words, Sapta and Sapta, Chaturdasha Loka, 16 says, Brahma Bhuvana Lokaha Punaravartinorjuna Mamupetya tu Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. There are two aspects to this expression. Brahma Bhuvanat. One is another is the Panchami Vibhakti of Bhuvanat. Bhuvana becomes Bhuvanat. Brahma Bhuvanat. So starting from Brahmaloka up to earth. Brahmaloka is the topmost and Bhu is where we are. And by Upalakshana, the 7 worlds below also. Nether worlds, nether means below, not Netherlands. Nether worlds. So 7 above and 7 below are all implied. Brahma Bhuvanat Lokaha. Sapta Lokaha. Chaturdasha Lokaha. Va Punaravartinaha. All of them have a label pasted on them, stuck on them. You will return to the earth, to Punarjanma, to another sphere of limitations. Punaravartinaha, where there is coming back. Avartana is coming back. But Mam Upetya, reaching me, He Kaunteya, son of Kunti, Punarjanma na vidyate. Punarjanma once more is one of the hallmarks of finitude. Otherwise, again, as we said about the world, there is nothing so negative about being born as such. But what it implies is when you are born again, 99.99999% chances are you will again get attached to money and pleasure and power and position and good dress and scent and perfume and so many. It's a long list of things to which we are likely to get attached. If you escape from one, you get caught in another. Even some sadhus who go to Himalayas, They are left behind money, woman, property, etc. But over there in some ashram, they become so egoistic. They will get very attached to their word. Everybody should follow their word. Do it my way or hit the highway. Then people say, oh my God. Yeah, yes, what? This sadhu or this sadhvi, this could be a lady too. She gets up at 3:30 and meditates, and her lectures are wonderful, and she sits in concentration. She sits by bank of Ganga, and you name it, she knows Bhagavatam, she knows Gita, she knows Upanishads. All that is okay with her, but Ayappa, so angry, so short-tempered, and if you don't agree with her, if you say something different from what she wants to do, her face becomes red, they say. So she is caught in something else. Of what use is if she has left behind the usual things to which people are attached? She has become so attached to my opinion, my word, my sankalpa, my way of achieving something, and so on. Very bad, very unfortunate. So, Vamupetya, when you reach Sri Krishna, you have completely let go of your egoism, the little self. Therefore, Sri Ramana Maharshi all the time focuses on letting go of the I. Erase the ego, then you have done everything. If you have not erased the ego, doesn't matter whether that ego is attached to gold or woman or man or property or land or bank balance or doesn't matter. Once there is the ego attached to something, it is dukkha alayam. Let go of the ego. So he calls it aham vritti, the little I, limited. The unlimited I is the pure self. So there is a shloka in Saddarshanam which precisely says this. Bhave sarvamidam vibhati laye hamo naiva vibhati kinchit tasmadaham rupamidam samastam tanmargane sarvajayaya margaha tanmarganam sarvajayaya margaha. Bhave ahamaha. When the aham, the ego, is present, all kinds of problems look so real. You take your hand to your head, oh my God, now we have this problem. Now we have that problem. Because the ego is up and active. Laye ahamaha, when aham, that is ahankara, dissolves, naiva vibhati kinchit. Nothing seems to be there at all. Right? So, that's a problem. Therefore, tanmarganam, constantly inquire what under the sun is this little I, which is making me bound. Koham, who am I? Nanyar, you ask. That is Sarvajaya Marga. So Sri Shankaracharya writes, Abrahma bhuvanat bhavanti asmin bhutani iti bhuvanam. The earth is called bhuvana because all of us are on the earth, and bhuvana shabda comes from the root bhu, bhavanti. Bhavana is, there is bhavana separately, hall, a hall where also people can sit, people can do some activity, but this is bhuvana. So, bhavanti asmin bhutani iti bhuvanam. Brahmanaha bhuvanam, Brahma bhuvanam. So, the meaning that Shankaracharya gives is Brahma bhuvana together is Brahma loka. So then, up to the Brahma loka, so bhuvana is not taken as the earth by Shankaracharya. Elsewhere, some translators of Gita give that meaning. So, for example, when you say, Asetu Himalaya Paryantam. So, Setu is the bridge that Sri Rama built from India to Sri Lanka, and Himalaya is in the north. India is sometimes described as Asetu Himalaya Paryantam. So, Brahma Bhuvanat can sometimes be looked at like that way. But Shankaracharya says Brahma Bhuvana is Brahmaloka. So up to Brahmaloka, start from the earth or start from the Patala, anywhere, all the lokaha punaravartinaha punaravartana swabhavaha. Hey Arjuna, mamupete tu kaunteya punarjanma punarutpattihi na vidyate. Therefore, get realized. The goal of life is self-realization. Everything else fades into insignificance in a little while. Why this shloka is very important is, interestingly, in interfaith dialogues, this comes up sometimes. In Christianity, Jesus Christ is said to have said, it could be an interpretation by people who later wrote the Bible and wrote commentaries. Maybe Jesus Christ talked about the awakening to one's true nature, but in the popular version of Christianity, it is surrendering to Jesus Christ, the divine person. So it becomes narrowed down to Christ and Christ only. Not Krishna, not Rama, they are not gods. Missionaries stood in marketplaces during British India, nobody would oppose them. They would they would stand on a little pedestal in the marketplaces. It's reported, recorded. They would say loudly, your Rama is not God, your Krishna is not God. Jesus alone is God. Even today they do it to a lesser extent in independent India, but there are. They made it a narrow definition of divinity as limited to a particular personality. In Advaita Vedanta, there is a certain truth which is infinity. Our present status is finitude. From our false knowledge that we are finite, we must, through sadhana, awaken to the understanding we are infinite. Then alone there is no coming back. In Christian version, it's not about coming back. If you don't surrender to Jesus Christ, you go to hell. And there is that concept which is so frightening, eternal damnation. Forever, because you made that one mistake of not surrendering to Jesus Christ, forever you are in hell, eternal damnation. So some denominations of Christianity have already reinterpreted it. They don't believe in eternal damnation. Some churches, some major churches of the world, probably Church of England and so on. Some of them are the Protestant denominations. But even to this day, the Roman Catholic Church, which is the most well-known or largest, I suppose. However, they are good people, basically. All religions have certain good values. But with respect to that idea, that concept, they don't want to change. Eternal damnation. And you ask a priest, how can somebody who somebody lived, let us say, for 75 years, that 75 years is nothing. In that 75 years, poor man, for some reasons, out of some confusion, did not surrender to Jesus Christ. For the mistake which, according to you, committed in those 75 years, you are sending him to eternal hell forever, for eternity. Isn't it utterly disproportionate? 75 years he did not surrender to Jesus Christ, though there were churches all around his house. He said, no, no, I believe in Allah, or I believe in Buddha, I believe in Shiva. Even if it's not a mistake, but even if in your eyes it's a mistake, it's a blunder, it's a sin, you didn't surrender to Jesus Christ. Okay, maximum, send him to hell for 75 years. Then bring him back. No, no, no. Eternal. So it looks a little disproportionate to say the least. But this verse is interesting. Just change the concept of eternal hell ever, going to hell ever, to eternally punaravartana. Again, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, as Bhajagovindam says. How long? As long as you don't realize your infinitude. You see, this verse says, as long as you don't come to me, and me is to be taken as that infinitude. As long as you don't realize your own pure, true nature, not limited by space or time, there is a certain truth to you. Realize that. Until you realize that, you will be going back and forth, sometimes becoming a king, sometimes becoming a slave, sometimes being beaten up by Tom, Dick, and Harry. Sometimes you might beat up Tom, Dick, and Harry. So ups and downs, glorious time and miserable time, etc. The samsara chakra. So eternal damnation you just replace with a endless cycle of birth and death. Christianity and Hindu thought come together. But that idea of you are in hell forever, no second chance. You can't say after spending 1000 years in hell, give me one chance to go back to the earth. I will surrender to God or Jesus. So this is okay. I would say I'm not condemning Christianity. A whole lot of Christians, you know, they say, "How we believe in that." Anyway, that's okay. But isn't it good to love Christ? To bring it. So in Hinduism also, those who are great devotees of Krishna, they say, they may not talk of hell, but they say, whatever it is, but love Krishna. Love Krishna. They just emphasize love of Krishna. And if you don't love Krishna, what happens might be described in precisely true ways or ways that are not so precise. Doesn't matter. But the emphasis is on love Krishna. So in that way, if you take things are straight and up. Therefore, though it may seem that I have criticized Christianity, not really. We respect Christianity. We respect very all Buddhism. Buddhism doesn't talk of God, so we don't condemn Buddhism. But we present our system, and as for differences that other systems, other religions, other schools of thought have with us, we look at them sympathetically. Oh, I see. You think so? Yeah. Who thinks so? Once I said to a man, his wife was next to her. Her name was Seema, let us say. Seema is such a good lady. And the man said to me, "You really think so, Swamiji? You think so?" I can never forget. So, well, that's another case. So, people think in various ways. Loko bhinna ruchi, sarve bhavantu sukhina. And the concepts need not be taken literally. We can reflect on them. There must be certain truth which is all embracing. Let us realize that truth. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva.